I'd like to call the monthly Board of Education meeting to order. Please rise, pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Keeling makes a motion. Janet made the second. All in favor, show of hands. Motion carries. Citizens update.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had no one request participation as per board policy BDDH.
Written communications.
We had no written communications either.
Now citizens update.
Now,
With statements.
statements, yes.
Hey, it's summertime. I'm on
That's right.
vacation.
That's right.
We'll just go straight to district announcements.
Thank you, Mr. President. Based upon parent requests, this year new student enrollment will be at one location for all grades. New student enrollment will be from 8 to 3 Tuesday, July 23rd and Wednesday, July 24th for all new students in grades K through 12, starting at the main entrance to the high school, here at the high school. All parents of students, both new and returning, need to provide proof of residence prior to the start of the 1920 school year to comply with Missouri law. Parents can email proof of residence to residence@waynesville.k12.mo.us or mail it to Student Services at 200 Fleetwood Drive in Waynesville. Now the announcement that all students are waiting for. The first day of school for the 1920 school year will be Wednesday, August the 14th, and it will not be a late start day. Before the start of the school year, 8th graders will need to have 2 vaccines, and seniors will need 1 unless they are exempted. 8th grade students will need the Tdap and the meningococcal vaccine. Seniors will need the meningococcal vaccine. As a reminder, our smaller schools in Fort Leonard Wood will be open on limited days in July, so please call before you stop by in July. To participate in a sport, Waynesville middle and high school students must submit a completed MISHA physical form. Free physical form or free physicals are donated by Mercy Clinic in St. Robert and will be performed from 5 to 6:30 on August 6th through 8th based on the students' last names. A parent must be present for the physicals. And finally, and great news here, Olga McFadden, Waynesville R6's School Teacher of the Year, has been named one of 2 South Central Regional Teachers of the Year and is now eligible to represent Waynesville in the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's Missouri Teacher of the Year process. State finalist will be announced in August. We wish Olga the best, very deserving recipient, and congratulations to her.
Very good. Bid recommendations, Dr. Berger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, fiscal year 20, the first fiscal year. We've rolled the year over, and I don't believe any items that are not routine, but
Okay.
many more coming.
Financials.
I've got a question. Dr. Berger, it seems like to me, and maybe it's just this one particular thing, but it seems like to me, were there other bidders on these items down through here?
Yes, my sheet, was there a particular one you were asking for, Mr. Keeling, or?
Well, no, it just, on mine, there's just one bid recommendation.
Except for the
all
library
of them
furniture?
Except for the library furniture.
On the dishwasher, 3 vendors, 0 local. The vehicles, 4 vendors, all 4 local were contacted.
One that I'm concerned about is the security vestibule.
Yeah, and that's round 2. So there were two vendors that came to the pre-bid, mandatory pre-bid meeting. NetWatch was one, and there was a local contractor who came to the one. The local contractor wound up not bidding the first time around, and then the second time around, it was a separate bid, only one at the pre-bid meeting, mandatory pre-bid meeting, and that was NetWatch. In our area, and really not our area, but our region, for secure vestibules, it's not that someone else can't do it, but they're kind of the only game in town, so to speak. But there were 4 vendors on that one contacted and only 1 bid.
What was our expected cost on that?
It's within budget. Now, I don't recall what we had there. That was the expenditure that was actually initially budgeted in FY19 and rolled over into FY20.
How did we come up with our number, I guess is what I'm saying?
Bid spec. I mean, well, we contact and get a soft number from different vendors.
Okay, okay.
Financial report.
Let's see. Thank you, Mr. President. For July 3rd, 2019, in the MOSIP account, $49,717,678.65. CDs, $10.5 million. In the general account, $3,853,916.10. Payroll account, $63,987.47. Total funds, $64,135,582.22.
Yeah, I have a motion to approve consent agenda items A through G.
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Keeling makes a motion. I have a second.
I'll second.
Kreider seconds. All in favor, show of hands. Motion carries. Discussion item, classified mentor handbook. Mrs. Bells.
Thank you, Mr. President. The proposed classified mentor handbook is presented to the board for review as a first reading.
Any comments or questions? Thank you, Mrs. Bells. Federal programs report, Dr. Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. There we go. This is our federal programs evaluation, and I'll discuss funding, activities, and goals under the funding. And this is really the funding under the Every Student Succeeds Act. So for last year, we had $1.1 million in federal funding under here. We had Title 1A, 1D, 2A, and Title 3 LEP, and I'll go into what each of those are on the upcoming slides. So Title 1A is improving the academic achievement of the disadvantaged. So we have 4 Title I buildings. Those are East, Freedom, Partridge, and Wood. Funding is used for intervention teachers and paraprofessionals, instructional coaches, behavior intervention specialists, professional development, technology, supplemental instructional materials, and parent involvement activities. Each building gets to plan how they want to use their funds, so that's a whole menu of things that they're doing, and each building's doing something a little bit different, just based on the needs of their building. We also provide support for students in transitional living situations, and then we also fund our PACE preschool slots and provide teachers and paraprofessionals supplies and professional development activities through that. Title 1D, this is funding specifically for students who are neglected, delinquent, or at risk. So this is funding for Piney Ridge. So at Piney Ridge, we usually have about 90 students or so at any given time. This funding pays for 1 classroom teacher and 1 of the paraprofessionals at Piney, and then for instructional materials and devices to support instruction as well as professional development for staff. Title II, this is really about professional development for teachers. So we pay for 2 of our district instructional coaches out of Title II. We pay for our new teacher induction program and mentoring, and then professional development activities that support district goals. Title III is language instruction for students with limited English proficiency. You've probably heard ESL through the years, ELL through the years, and as of last year, they are now ELs or English learners. So Title III pays for instructional materials to support our ELs and professional development, as well as parent involvement activities specific for our ELs. And that funding is determined by the number of EL students we have each year, and then we get our revised allocation for the next year. We do have goals within the federal programs. So we look at the percentage of students scoring proficient or advanced on math, and that will increase 2% per year in ELA and math. We use 2018 as our new benchmark because of the changes in testing. We really couldn't compare from year to year. So we have our 2018 baseline, and then we'll be looking at 2019 to see if we're making progress towards that goal. Goal 2, the percentage of students reading at or above grade level will increase by 1% per year, with the goal of 75% of students reading on grade level as measured by our district assessments. And then district benchmark reading assessments, and then 75% of students will achieve mastery on local common assessments in ELA. So this is our goal that we're working on in regards to reading, and then our ELA. That's our second half. And we almost hit that 75% this year. Goal 3, 75% of preschool students will meet the Missouri Early Learning Standards in ELA and math, and we have continued to show growth in that over the past 4 years and have met that goal. Goal 4 is looking at testing for our EL students. So the access test is a test that's given to measure their progress with the English language, and then when students hit a 5, they can begin to test out of being an EL student. And so our goal is that the percentage of students scoring 5 or higher will increase 2% each year. So again, our EL teachers are monitoring that, and we did see a slight decrease from 2018 to 2019. And then we are also looking at our MAP performance to see how we compare to the state, and we do exceed the state in the performance of our ELs when we look at overall state performance. And goal 5, 100% of teachers and core content areas will be highly qualified, and we have met this for the past 5 years. Are there any questions?
Dr. Atkins, I should know the answer to this, but what qualifies a school to be a Title I school?
So
Free and reduced.
we look at the free and reduced lunch percentage, and then they're ranked out within grade spans, so elementary, middle, high school, and then you determine based on their rankings which you choose to serve. So as long as they're above 40%, you can serve them, and so really we just rank them out. And
40% is kind of the number.
mhm.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you on that. And since you're there, summer school report.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Dr.
President. So we just recently concluded another successful summer school program. We had 343 high school students who completed the first session and 215 that completed the second session. High schoolers complete 2-week sessions. And they could choose a variety of courses, including core classes, credit recovery, PE, and other electives. And in grades through 8, we had 1,642 students who completed summer school, and Piney Ridge had 74 students. And this year, we had a virtual learning that we also implemented, which some families took advantage of because they've not been able to traditionally complete all of our traditional summer school. So by having that virtual option, they were able to stay engaged in learning, but more on their own schedule.
Any comments or questions? All right, thank you. Discipline report, Mrs. Sumner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have to bring this mic down a little bit for 4-9. All right, this is our discipline report for 2018-2019 school year. The first slide refers to the number of discipline incidents across the district from 2014 to 2019. You will notice that the district experienced an increase of 566 incidents, or 13% from the prior school year. Our next slide shows the district overall, all schools from East to Waynesville High School. You will see that the schools demonstrated a decrease in referrals. Those schools were Freedom at -19 and Waynesville High School at -177. Schools demonstrating an increase in referrals compared to 2017-18 were East, Partridge, Thayer, Wood, Waynesville 6th Grade Center, and Waynesville Middle School. This is the 3-year trend for Waynesville High School. You will notice increases in electronic devices and many reductions in classroom discipline, failure to attend both Saturday school detention and SAVE, reduction in fights, skipping, and threats. This is the 3-year trend of incidents by race. There are increases in the African American, small increases I might note, in the African American, Hawaiian Pacific Islander, and white students, and reductions in the Asian, Hispanic, and multiracial, as well as the American Indian students. Our next slide covers the suspensions, in-school and out-of-school suspensions across the board. There was a reduction, but you will notice that we used ASP, or the Alternative School Program, suspension program, 149 days. So that helped with our attendance. Our next slide is the Waynesville Middle School 3-year trend. You will see decreases in the failure to attend detention, profanity, and insubordination, and increases in classroom discipline, disrespect, pushing, shoving, tardies, and threats. Our next slide is the incidents by race at the middle school, where we have small increases in all races. However, in the African American category, there was a 4% reduction due to mentorship. This is the 3-year trend for suspensions in school and out of school. You will notice that suspensions increased, but the middle school used 216 days of the alternative school program, alternative suspension program, which has assisted our attendance. This is the serious consequences, a 3-year trend for all of the elementary schools for in-school and out-of-school suspensions. There was an increase on in-school suspensions across the board, and all schools increased in OSS except for Freedom Elementary. This is Waynesville 6th grade center, the 3-year trend by discipline. You will notice that anytime there's a 0 percentile, that means that there was less than 1% of the students that received a referral. There's an increase in the African American population, American Indian, and white population, reductions in the Asian, Hawaiian Pacific Islander, Hispanic, and multiracial populations. The last 2 slides have discipline by incidents, and then the last slide is the discipline by percentages. Make it a little bit easier to read. You will notice increases at East, Partridge, Thayer, and Wood, and a reduction at Freedom Elementary for discipline for the school year. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to action items. Proposed SOS handbook, second reading, Mrs. Bells.
Thank you, Mr. President. The proposed SOS handbook was presented last month for the board's review as a first reading. Administration did not receive any questions and is requesting approval at this time, please.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Dr. Fulmer makes the motion. Have a second? Mr. Deering, second. All in favor, show of hands. Motion carries. Textbook proposal, Dr. Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Throughout the course of the spring and early summer, teacher committees have met to review textbook resources that align to and support instruction in the new Missouri Learning Standards. Teacher materials and associated classroom resources will be ordered for general education and special education classrooms. And these proposals do include student workbooks for 6 years, as well as online access, and then any student books that are associated. Implementation training will be provided in August and September and ongoing throughout the year. We have elementary social studies, which is Pearson My World Interactive, and it's a 2020 edition. Pearson My World Interactive 2019 edition for middle school, which would be grades 6 through 8. And then for grades 6 through 8, Pearson Elevate Science. Administration requests a motion to approve the proposal as presented.
Any questions or comments? And do I have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Ford makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Kreider seconds. All in favor, show of hands. 7-0, motion carries. Thank you. Waynesville High School, Waynesville Middle School handbook updates. Dr. Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Sorry, I'm not jumping in. I am jumping in. I'm not Dr. Atkins, but just real quick, I wanted to point out that Mrs. Kreider brought up, and we will make adjustments, but the board did take action to increase lunch prices last month. These books have not went out yet that you're voting to amend tonight, but we will make sure that we reflect the new increased prices in all of the handbooks coming up. And if there have been some that have been printed, we'll do addendums for that to make sure it's been corrected for the students when they get started.
Thank you. At our March meeting, you approved the 2019-2020 student handbooks for the middle school and high school. However, through the course of the spring, we've been looking at grading, late work, and homework procedures, and so they have updated those to reflect that, as well as the high school updated the language involving their privilege system, so, and removed the card system language and then updating to the new stripe system that will be in place. So we're requesting approval of these changes as presented.
Any comments or questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make that
Mr.
motion.
Keelan makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Quinn seconds. All in favor, show of hands. Motion carries. MSBA policy and procedure update. Dr. Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a written procedure for how we document time and effort for services using federal funds. This is a practice that we have followed for as long as I can remember in federal programs. There's just a new requirement that there be an approved procedure, so this is no change in practice. It's just having it in written format.
Okay, any comments or questions? Have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Kreider makes a motion. I have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, show of hands. 7-0, motion carries. District textbook surplus, Dr. Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. This, we have a list of instructional textbooks and resources that we'd like to have declared surplus property so we can make room for the items you just approved. So we're requesting a motion to declare them as excess.
Any comments or questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Kreider makes a motion. Mr. Deering seconds. All in favor, show of hands. 7-0. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, show of hands. I set a new record, 6:53.
On my way back to Springfield.
Stay here.